This is CBC Winnipeg News.
Good evening. Thanks for joining us. A downtown medical clinic has been forced to close its doors for a second time in less than a year. Heating problems, burst pipes, and falling ceiling tiles are causing major issues at the Women's Health Clinic. As CBC's Zubina Ahmed reports, despite the issues, there's no set plans to do any major upgrades.
Electronic now, so.
A part of the ceiling suddenly collapsed. This was caught on camera when we interviewed Kemlin Nemhard, Executive Director of the Women's Health Clinic.
You can see the steam, right? And so this is one of the places they're going to be repairing.
As Nemhard points out, this is another sign of aging in the clinic's 60-year-old building. She says the boiler stopped working on Tuesday and the temperature dropped around the freezing mark. The clinic got the boiler fixed, but that wasn't the end of it.
We knew that our pipes were frozen on the first floor. When we came in on Wednesday, our first floor was flooded and some of the pipes had burst. When we came in this morning, we realized that, in fact, there were more leaks in the pipes.
Nemhard says they are now working to get the pipes repaired, but in-person appointments are affected.
We are again either changing the appointments to on the phone or virtual, or redirecting them to one of our other 2 locations.
In July last year, a lack of air conditioning for almost 2 weeks forced the clinic to send staff home and reduce in-person appointments. She says recurring issues indicate the need for upgrades.
The problem is that when the pipes freeze with the water in them, right, and then they quickly heat again, so it's the contraction and the expansion, and so they need to just come in and basically test all those areas and fix those areas of the pipe.
During the election campaign, the NDP promised money to retrofit the building. Health Minister Uzoma Asagwara says they are working on it.
We've been meeting regularly with the Women's Health Clinic to find ways to not only obviously work directly with them, but to work at different levels of government to make sure that that project can get done.
Asagwara didn't give an exact timeline or budget. Zubina Ahmed, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Paramedics responded to what appears to be a collision between a Winnipeg police cruiser and a school bus. This scene unfolded around 4:30 this afternoon at the intersection of Provincial Boulevard and St. Jean-Baptiste Street. There's no word on injuries. Officials from the Franco-Manitoban School Division confirm it was one of their buses. CBC has reached out to police and the city for comment. Harvest Manitoba and Mama Wichita are coming together to build a new Indigenous-led community hub. It will look to address food insecurity in Winnipeg and provide cultural programming and services. They say it's the first of its kind in the province. CBC's Felicia Adam has more.
A transformation is underway. This empty warehouse will soon become a community grocery store and a meeting point for those that need it. The building on Notre Dame will be named Asishikan, a space of offering, providing access to cultural food and services. Harvest Manitoba and Mama Wichita made the announcement Friday.
We really wanted people to have access and agency in what they were able to select that met the needs of their family.
The center, a first of its kind in Manitoba. Tammy Christensen is the head of Mama Wichita Center. She says the focus will be food sovereignty, giving people autonomy over the food they eat.
This community hub will provide not only that community grocery store, but all the resources to help support those families.
It's a $14 million project with $4.2 million in funding from the province and just over $9 million federally. Vince Barletta is the head of Harvest Manitoba. The organization says a third of their clients are First Nation, Inuit, or Métis. For Barletta, the Indigenous-led initiative means access to cultural programming, services, and foods.
Grocery store food bank itself will be focused on supporting the Mama Wichita Center's families, kids, mums, elders who need dignified access to food as they get themselves out on their feet and launch their lives off in a good way.
As for how many it could help, he says sky's the limit. The space will open early next year. Felicia Adam, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Winnipeg police have issued a public warning about a new form of fentanyl that's been found circulating in Winnipeg. These are images of some of the drugs that have been seized by police. The fentanyl has been pressed and packaged into unique shapes. They look similar to cut-out cookies, colorful candles, soaps, or confections. Officers say if you come into contact with the items, do not touch them and call police. A third person has been arrested and charged with first-degree murder in connection to a December 2023 homicide. 20-year-old Brooklyn Elijah Hebert was killed in the 200 block of Selkirk Avenue. His body, however, was moved and dumped a block away on Flora. 2 suspects were charged with first-degree murder last year. This week, 37-year-old Hazel Flett was also arrested and charged. She's been detained in custody. All 3 accused and Hebert were believed to have known each other. A piece of Winnipeg's history is gone. Earlier this week, demolition crews began tearing down a Seven Oaks home that had stood for more than a century. Local historians worry other landmarks could face a similar fate. CBC's Cameron McLean has more.
More than 130 years of history reduced to rubble. This is all that remains of the Polson House. Kenneth Ingram with the Seven Oaks Historical Society had fought to preserve the house. He calls the loss heartbreaking.
Well, it's a classic case of demolition by neglect.
Polson House was built in 1894 for Alexander Polson, a former city councillor and grandson of one of the original Selkirk settlers. Beyond its age and important past owner, Ingram says the house had many historical features.
And this one featured many of those distinct features you look for in some of these Victorian-era houses. It features like steeply pitched roofs, dormer windows, ornaments like finials and dentil molding, and just stuff you don't really see on houses built nowadays.
The house did not have official heritage status, although Ingram says even that might not have saved it. He says the previous owners weren't able to keep up with needed repairs. A developer plans to split the lot into 2 single-family houses with secondary suites. It's too late to do anything to save the Polson House, and the folks from the Seven Oaks Historical Society worry that this could be next. This is the Bleak House, and it's 150 years old.
You've seen the outer boards of all are rotted off. In fact, when the snow's not there, you can see pieces of it on the ground.
Jim Smith has been coming to check on the Bleak House every month, and he's seen the deterioration progressing. Unlike the Polson House, Bleak House is owned by the city of Winnipeg. It was built in 1875 by Colin Inkster, another Selkirk settler descendant and a former MLA. Smith says the city has not been maintaining the building.
I find it really disgusting, this kind of thing, because the longer it lasts, the worse it gets.
Whether it's a private entity or the city of Winnipeg, Ingram says it's up to the owners of historical buildings to preserve them.
At the end of the day, you need to find the right owner for the right house for the right purpose. All those stars need to align so that it is being used, it's not vacant, and it's able to survive for many more decades.
Bleak House is currently used by a seniors group. A city spokesperson says it's looking for funding opportunities to preserve the building. It's a designated heritage resource, and there are no plans to sell it. Cameron McLean, CBC News, Winnipeg.
A familiar face will be running for the Progressive Conservatives in the provincial by-election in Transcona. Former City Councillor Sean Nason has been nominated for the PCs. The seat became vacant when NDP MLA Nello Altamar passed away earlier this year. The NDP have nominated educator Shannon Corbett to run. The Manitoba Liberal Party has yet to announce its candidate. Transcona votes on March 18th. Riley Lachuk in now. Riley, it is so nice to see no warnings, watches behind you, and also my face didn't hurt today.
I know, it was actually a pleasant walk into work. Walking outdoors, yes, you can actually see people's faces because we're not covering them all up. Yeah, I mean, far cry from where we started the week, right? Like, thinking back to Monday into the minus 40s for places like Roblin into Monday morning, getting to minus 4 this afternoon. So, yes, we are on that upswing and starting to see those temperatures warm up. And I think even as we get into the evening hours tonight, we'll see some of those temperatures climbing even further. Clouds have been kind of ebbing and flowing, a bit more substantial clouds starting to move into southern Manitoba, and radar at least picking up a few flurries in some of this, but it's what's coming on the weekend that I'm watching here. So temperatures remaining above seasonal, really for southern and central Manitoba throughout the weekend. A bit more cloud, particularly as we get into Sunday. And I have been keeping my eye on an Alberta clipper that has started to move through Saskatchewan. We'll cross into Manitoba as we get into Sunday. For the most part, missing Winnipeg, but we'll time it out and we'll talk about that and your weekend forecast when I come back.
Okay, thank you, Riley.
You're welcome.
Sports fans across North America tuned in to watch Team Canada bring home gold in the Four Nations final. Coming up, the group of friends from Winnipeg who made the trek to watch one of their own hit the ice. Stay with us. Well, fans across Canada are still reveling in the victory over the U.S. at the Four Nations face-off. With political tension simmering between the two countries, it's a win that's seen as bigger than just what happened on the ice. Sarah Levitt reports.
From sea to sea to sea and even abroad, Canadians are basking in the glow of an epic win at the Four Nations Cup.
It's a big thing. It's like we won the world.
One of the best experiences of my life. Very proud to be Canadian right now.
I was really happy.
Like, you can't lose to the U.S., right? So it was the best moment.
Canada's success in hockey is renowned, but the United States has become a powerhouse of its own.
That's going to do it. A hard-fought Team USA victory.
They had beaten Canada 3-1 in their first meeting of the tournament, so Thursday night's game had an edge. Scrappy, tense, with an overtime close, making the ultimate win even better.
In that room is proud to be a Canadian. And yeah, did we need a win? Not only like our team, but Canada needed a win.
A sentiment felt by many after a month filled with Donald Trump's tariff threats and comments about Canada as the 51st state.
You're not just playing for the maple leaf on the front of you anymore. You're playing for the whole country, and to kind of show him, like, look, we're proud. This is our game. Leave us alone.
It's a pivotal time to show our force, a great nation.
I don't know. It's really nice to be able to kind of like stick it to the man a little bit. Like, I don't know if I can say that.
Just the Canada-U.S. stuff that has been going on over the last month and a half. It was great to see for the country, for the player. You can't write a better script.
A script that even had Canada's political leaders united, perhaps showing sport can bring people together for a moment, at least. Sarah Levitt, CBC News, Montreal.
Now, one group of Winnipeggers couldn't settle for watching the game here at home. They drove down south to watch in person and to cheer on their childhood friend. CBC's Mike Arsenault has the details.
Connor McDavid scoring the overtime winner in the Four Nations Face-Off Championship, and Canadian fans on their feet at TD Garden in Boston. On the team, some of Canada's top talent, including Winnipegger Seth Jarvis, and 5 of his friends were there to see it.
We were supposed to fly out on Sunday. That got canceled, rescheduled a couple times. 2 days ago, we decided, hey, we're driving out. We're going to get to this game no matter what. We got to support our country, and more importantly, we got to support one of our best buddies.
The group of 5 introduced during last night's game on Sportsnet are childhood friends of Jarvis. After the game, the group got to rub shoulders with the entire team and take pictures with the trophy alongside their buddy. Brian Hanna says it was a special moment for the group.
But it's something like you've always been dreaming of since a child. Now that we're seeing our buddy live out his dreams and we're kind of vicariously living through him, it's been really awesome, and we're just lucky that he was willing to share that experience with us.
They drove 30 hours through the night to get to the championship game, sacrificing sleep and comfort to make it in time for puck drop. The friends spoke with CBC on their way home to Winnipeg.
We just passed Albany, and we're making our way. I don't even know what town is next, but it's been a grind, that's for sure. Not running on a whole lot of sleep.
The whole experience is something they won't be forgetting anytime soon.
I don't even think there's words to describe it. It was nothing like any of us. I don't think any of us have ever experienced that before. It was on another level. Just like that's what everyone's going for. It's Canada versus US. It doesn't really get much better than that.
Especially when your team and your friend come away with the gold. Mike Arsenault, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Meantime, Canadian Grammy Award winning singer Chantal Kreviazuk took a stand while singing the national anthem at the Four Nations Face-Off game.
True patriot love that only us command.
A representative confirmed in an email to CBC News that Kreviazuk intentionally sang that only us command instead of in all of us command to protest Donald Trump's comments about absorbing Canada as a 51st state. In a post on social media, the Winnipegger showed a photo of the lyric written on her hand and said that changing the words felt like the right thing to do. On X, Prime Minister Trudeau reiterated his stance after the game, saying, "You can't take our country and you can't take our game." Manitoba's tourism industry is getting a big boost from Ottawa in hopes of attracting more people to explore the prairies. 9 attractions around Manitoba will see a nearly $2 million injection of federal funds. It includes money for a winter activation program at Assiniboine Park and to create an AI-powered Northern Lights tracker in Churchill. The government says tourism helps showcase the province's landscapes, multicultural heritage, and Indigenous-led experiences.
Tourism is a vital part of our province's identity, supporting
thousands of jobs and driving economic growth across Manitoba. Every trip, whether a weekend getaway or a long-awaited vacation, helps create jobs, sustain livelihoods, and boost businesses and communities that make our province such an attractive place.
Travel Manitoba says the tourism industry supports more than 20,000 jobs. It contributes $1.8 billion to visitor spending every year. A lot of great ideas. The AI-powered tracker for Northern Lights, because everybody wants to know what time can we get outside. Riley, you are a busy man when it's Northern Lights season, that's for sure.
Exactly. I think the Duck Pond in particular, Assiniboine Park, probably going to be packed this weekend.
Yes, that river trail everywhere. People are going to be outside.
I think so. Everyone's been cooped up for so long. I think everyone's just ready to collectively go out.
Yeah.
So we'll start with the upper level winds. There's a few things to see on here tonight, which is where we're going to begin. So first off, we have this developing area of low pressure in northern Alberta. This is our next weather maker here on the Prairie provinces through Saskatchewan into Manitoba as we get into the day on Sunday. You'll notice that Manitoba, southern and central Manitoba in particular, now on the warm side of the jet stream, which means that we're going to start seeing a bigger push of some of that Pacific air, particularly as we get into the weekend, fueled in part by this area of high pressure that's down in the States right now. So that is what's happening. I mean, places like Churchill into far northern Manitoba still on the cold side of this, so do expect more seasonal conditions into the northern prairies. You can see where that jet stream kind of cuts through the Prairie provinces right now. -14 today in Churchill. -4 in comparison in Dauphin, and even some warmer conditions. Places like Edmonton into Calgary, parts of Alberta looking at double-digit temperatures as we get into the weekend. So that warmth, we're sharing it right across the west as we get through the weekend. Cloud in Manitoba ebbs and flows. With that comes the chance of some scattered flurries through the day on Saturday. You can kind of see some of that depicted on Futurecast here. I mean, this is not exactly where we're going to see some scattered flurries, but it just gives you a sense that we are anticipating the potential, at least, for some scattered flurries out of some of this cloud. Our first wave of precipitation comes into northern Manitoba as we head through Sunday, riding along the jet stream. This is mainly an accumulating snow for places north of Norway House, for example, but the main event coming later into the afternoon on Sunday, this area of low pressure. For the most part, the forecast modeling has been pushing this north and keeping it along the jet stream as we've gotten through the day today as this makes its way across the province into Sunday. But I think that we do have a chance as we get into Sunday that we could see maybe a few rain showers or some flurries, really temperature dependent, really anywhere north of the Trans-Canada Highway, particularly where you see some of this cloud cover. Some of that straggles into Monday, so I think a chance of scattered flurries really into Monday morning can be anticipated across the south as well. As mentioned, more of an accumulating snow to the north, 4 or 5 centimeters, not out of the question for places like Thompson as we get through the weekend. Waking up to around -7 in Winnipeg first thing tomorrow morning, -8 in Dauphin, but temperatures closer to -30 into far northern Manitoba on the colder side of that jet stream. Up to -2 tomorrow, a pair of +3s, Brittany, Sunday and Monday, and staying above freezing as we get into mid next week.
Thank you, Riley.
You're welcome.
Well, it's the final weekend of Festival de Voyageurs, and it definitely won't be as cold as last weekend. More to come straight after this. Stay with us. Two Canadian premiers are in Washington trying to pitch their anti-tariff message. They met with American governors on the sidelines of their annual summit in the U.S. Capitol. Well, there's opposition to tariffs among the governors. Many are firmly backing President Donald Trump. Katie Simpson reports.
Ontario Premier Doug Ford and Nova Scotia Premier Tim Houston spent their day working meeting rooms at a downtown Washington hotel, trying to convince American governors of all political stripes to speak up and push back against tariffs.
What's shocking to me is how misinformed a lot of elected officials down here, how critical Canada plays in their economy and their critical minerals and their energy in manufacturing is aluminum and nickel and potash and uranium. So when we tell them all this, they're like, wow, we didn't realize this.
I believe we'll get through this. This is a relationship that has survived a couple hundred years, depressions, wars, all kinds of highs and lows in the relationship. And I believe we'll get through this, and we'll just do everything we can to make sure we get through it faster.
This is the second trip to D.C. in a month for both premiers. Neither think a breakthrough moment is imminent, but they defended their plan to keep trying to convince as many people as they can that tariffs will not just hurt the Canadian economy, but the American economy too. In speaking with governors at this conference, we found there was mixed reaction to tariffs. While some Republicans supported Donald Trump's plan, some Democrats were opposed.
We're working through all of it, and the White House wants to reset the deck and wants to bring manufacturing back home, and I think that's a fantastic idea.
It's not good. I like Canada. It's my favorite 51st state, and we bring down, that's a joke, by the way.
I know, the thing is, in Canada, that's not going to go over as a joke.
Okay, leave that outside. But we bring down hydro, we bring down energy. The idea of putting a 20% tariff on that is terrible.
Canada becoming the 51st state really seemed to be a punchline, as you just heard, even from Democrats. The outrage among Canadians not necessarily resonating with some of these state leaders. Katie Simpson, CBC News, Washington.
New data from BC and Washington state shows fewer people are crossing the border into the U.S. As John Hernandez reports, community leaders say one of the main causes is the political tension caused by Trump.
Thousands of cars cross the Peace Arch border into Whatcom County just about every day, but lately there isn't as much traffic, and it's already ringing some alarm bells.
This is becoming like what we experienced during COVID.
Data from BC and Washington state show there's been a lot fewer cars traveling south compared to the same time in 2024. Traffic was already down for the first few weeks of the year. Then, the day after Donald Trump's inauguration, a 29% drop. The traffic volume steadily declined right up until the Family Day weekend, which averaged 40% fewer drivers daily. There were also decreases at the Pacific Highway and Sumas border crossings. Local leaders have some ideas on what's behind the numbers.
The Canadian dollar has gone very low, which is unfortunate. At the same time, this what is happening with the federal government, the talk of tariffs.
Residents in these U.S. border towns are aware Canadians might be choosing to avoid spending their dollars in the U.S. amid the mounting political turmoil and threats of annexation.
All the cities do report a slight decrease in sales revenue or maybe even a flattening. We don't know whether that's because Canadians aren't shopping or Americans aren't shopping, but we are concerned about it.
Blaine Mayor Mary Lou Stewart says tourism dollars are critical to her border town's economy.
And I have lots of family and friends in Canada, and they are saying, yeah, we're not going to forget this, and I can understand that.
So these neighbors to the south want to send Canadians a message.
We want them to understand that whatever sentiment is coming out of Washington, D.C. does not represent the feelings of the city of Blaine.
You are always welcome.
A peaceful gesture as these border towns hold out hope this recent visitor decline doesn't become a long-term trend. John Hernandez, CBC News, Vancouver.
Former MP Ruby Dalla has been kicked out of the leadership race for the Liberal Party of Canada. A committee has voted unanimously to disqualify her for violating the race's rules. The Leadership Vote Committee said Dalla was found to be in breach of 10 violations of the rules, including election finance matters. In a social media post, Dalla claims the allegations are fabricated. They were designed to revive people after fainting, but these days more and more athletes are using them for a burst of adrenaline. Now a PEI woman is raising the alarm bell over a growing trend involving smelling salts, calling for them to be banned. Wayne Thibodeau explains.
An island grandmother is on a campaign to get smelling salts banned from PEI rinks. Barbara Brookins' grandchildren love hockey. Recently, she discovered smelling salts on sale at a handful of rinks.
Well, I was very concerned about this, and the bottle of smelling salts is making it into the dressing room, and the kids are passing it around the dressing room. And all being encouraged to take a little whiff of the smelling salts to enhance their performance.
Smelling salts are an ammonia-based product. It was originally developed to revive people who fainted, but they're also marketed to athletes looking for a burst of adrenaline and are a common sight on NHL benches. Brookins is not only a hockey grandparent, she's also an emergency room nurse.
It's ammonia, so it's a chemical, and we're telling our children that it's okay to sniff ammonia, and it makes your heart rate goes up. It irritates your respiratory linings in your nose and in your throat, depending on how big of an inhale you take.
In a statement, Hockey PEI says it does not currently have a policy on smelling salts, but added there are concerns with their use when not medically prescribed. Hockey PEI does not recommend use of these products and cautions parents to be aware and informed of the product availability. Meanwhile, Health Canada told CBC News it has not authorized any ammonia-based health product for sale for inhalation purposes, adding inhaling ammonia may pose significant health risks and may quickly lead to coughing, airway constriction, and eye, nose, and throat irritation. Health Canada strongly advises consumers to not purchase or use unapproved inhalant products marketed for alertness and energy boosting. The province's chief public health officer is not currently recommending a ban on smelling salts.
There's no scientific evidence that it will enhance your performance, certainly over any kind of extended period of time. For some of the ammonia smell may make some young athletes feel differently, but really it does not enhance performance over any period of time.
When you're the one kid in the dressing room who doesn't want to sniff the bottle, the peer pressure that you're going to take is not easy for them. They go through enough now with peer pressures, and adding smelling salts, which is just crazy.
Health Canada says it has not received any reports of smelling salts being sold in rinks. It encourages anyone with information to reach out. Other provinces have already banned the product. Last week, Hockey Quebec announced smelling salts are no longer allowed. Wayne Thibodeau, CBC News, Charlottetown.
Hamas says it has handed over the remains of dead Israeli hostage Shiri Bibas, possibly averting a new threat to the Gaza ceasefire. The militant group claimed her body was misidentified when a coffin was released to Israel Thursday. The issue prompted Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to threaten revenge. Israel has also alleged the women's 2 children were deliberately murdered. Their bodies were among the 4 dead hostages handed over earlier. Hamas says they died in an Israeli airstrike. Catholics worldwide are keeping a close eye on the health of Pope Francis. The 88-year-old pontiff has been in hospital since Valentine's Day. The Pope has been hospitalized several times in the past few years, and that's leading to speculation he may choose to resign. CBC's Megan Williams is at the Vatican with more.
Well, it was a week ago that Pope Francis was brought from his home inside the Vatican, the Santa Marta guest house, to Gemelli Hospital, where he initially was treated for bronchitis and now for double pneumonia. There is no word of him getting out. There are thousands of pilgrims pouring into Rome for the Holy Jubilee year, but cancellations that the Vatican announced of Pope Francis's participation remain, and there's no talk of him getting out anytime soon to greet so many of the pilgrims who came here, hoping that they would catch a sight of him. His condition seems to have stabilized, and the Pope joked with some of his advisors saying, well, it doesn't look like there'll be a conclave this time, so that's positive. He thinks that he'll likely get out of the hospital. But there is open talk of his resignation. A top Cardinal, Gianfranco Ravasi, went on Italian radio yesterday and talked about that, saying that he thought if the Pope got to a point where he was incapacitated or couldn't greet people, who couldn't carry out his obligations as Pope, make important decisions, that he would probably opt to resign. The Pope himself has said he thinks popes should be popes until death, ad vitam, but he did also say that if he got to a point where his health deteriorated enough, he would consider resigning as well, something that, of course, the Pope before him, Benedict XVI, did for the first time in 600 years. Megan Williams, CBC News, the Vatican.
A town of more than 50,000 residents in the Amazon is now perched on the edge of being swallowed whole. Deep craters hundreds of meters wide are threatening homes in this town in northeastern Brazil. The massive sinkholes have triggered what city officials are calling a state of public calamity. They say the geological phenomenon known as quebrada is natural. However, an intense rainy season and human activity is being blamed for exacerbating the problem. The municipality has ordered the expropriation of homes at risk and plans to relocate those who are affected. Well, you've seen them for video games and even teaching, but now virtual reality is making its way into patients' hands to help prepare them for surgery. We'll have more on that straight ahead. You're watching CBC Winnipeg News. Stay with us. Sports have been going global for a long time, but you might not have guessed there's an international body for dodgeball, and there is. And the World Dodgeball Federation has a world tournament underway in Calgary. The CBC's Aaron Collins paid a visit.
On this Calgary court, a global first. Youth teams from around the world gathered to play dodgeball, a sport once limited to school gyms and playgrounds exploding in popularity. This tournament organized by the World Dodgeball Federation, drawing teams from around the world. What's so fun about dodgeball?
Like if you just imagine you don't like someone, you can just pretend that person is the person you don't like, so you can just hit them, and then you get the feeling of hitting the person you don't like.
The sport played by nearly 100 million people worldwide in 70 countries. Do you think maybe one day dodgeball could be in the Olympics?
I think, yeah, it's going to be an Olympic game. Yeah, for sure.
And you can play for Mexico.
I think, yeah.
Dodgeball, long a hit in popular culture.
I'm really sorry. Are you all right?
Why would you hit a girl? Why?
Now making inroads as a legitimate sport. One played with familiar rules, but two kinds of balls, cloth and foam. All right, this is a foam dodgeball. There's also cloth ones. What's the difference?
Yeah, so the foam dodgeballs are a little less dense. They're spongier, where the cloth ones are air-filled with a cloth texture, and they're bouncier.
Both of them sting, though, I'd say.
Yes, you get them thrown hard enough and you'll feel both of them, yes, absolutely.
Canada, a world power in the foam ball category, winning the women's and mixed competitions at the World Championships this summer. Youth teams from across Canada competing here in Calgary in under 12, 15, and 18 divisions. Excited to be representing their country, playing a sport they love.
Different people bring different things, where for me, I'm more of a thrower and a catcher, but a lot of people are really good at dodging, and that's a really major thing that you want to get into.
This tournament wraps up Saturday. Canada's teams hoping to dodge, dip, and dive their way onto the podium. Aaron Collins, CBC News, Calgary.
I love that Aaron included a little clip from dodgeball as well, because it was the first thing I said to you as we were watching that. Love dodgeball, fun game, and be fun to see it in the Olympics, I think.
Probably one of the only sports I'm actually decent at.
It's good. I enjoy it. And you know what? Maybe some dodgeball happening this weekend, but probably not, because you can actually get outside.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's going to be a nice one to get outside to take the dog, the animals, kids for a walk.
All of us. Take me for a walk. I've been curled up inside too.
I want to show you some video from Vancouver. Have a look at this afternoon. Are you catching that? That's an earthquake that was felt across parts of British Columbia through the afternoon hours today at 1:30 Pacific time. That's 3:30 Central time. And the epicenter of that at Sechelt, just outside of, about 23 kilometers northeast of this afternoon, a magnitude 4.8 according to the U.S. Geological Survey. Earthquakes Canada, though, measuring this at a magnitude 5.4. Certainly did shake for about 10 seconds through Metro Vancouver, Victoria, the south coast, and parts of the island feeling the shake from that as we got through the afternoon hours today on the west coast. All right, Feline Friday with Miss Maya today. Hopefully is able to maybe get outside for a little breath of fresh air. Thank you, Marie, for sending this picture in. Send me your pets, please, to talkback at cbc.ca. I could use some to show next week, so please send them along. Looking at mainly cloudy skies really across the south tomorrow, but much like today, some of that ebbing and flowing as we get through the day. So yes, some periods of sunshine tomorrow, but predominantly looking at cloudy skies, variable winds, looking at -2 in Winnipeg by the afternoon, -5 by the evening. So we're looking at above seasonal again tomorrow, and that's the trend that we're looking at as we get into the coming week. You can see the leading edge of some cloud cover starting to push into northwestern Manitoba. This bringing maybe a little bit of snow, not much in the way of accumulation, but certainly could see some of that through the night. -10 in Brandon, -9 in Dauphin, looking at -12 in Peguis and Swan River. Mainly cloudy skies overnight tonight. Chance we could see a few flurries to places like Lynn Lake into Thompson. Temperatures significantly colder in the north, as much of northern Manitoba still on the northern side of that jet stream, which means colder conditions conditions, somewhat sunnier skies, although we will start to see the leading edge of some of that snow moving in as we get later into the day on Saturday, and particularly into the day on Sunday. We start cloudy in the Red River Valley as we get through the day on Saturday, but as I said, that cloud kind of ebbing and flowing, so some sunny breaks through the day, and the chance of some scattered flurries really throughout the day. -5 in Brandon by lunchtime, looking at highs around -3 to -6 across the west, up to -2 in Winnipeg, +1 in Sprague as we get through the day on Saturday. And looking into your Sunday, temperatures above 0 with the chance, Brittany, of seeing some snow and some rain, particularly the further north you go in the province. I'll have your 7-day forecast coming up.
Thanks, Riley.
You're welcome.
Well, for some people, surgery can be stressful and anxiety-inducing. It can cause many sleepless nights and make pain the patients are experiencing even worse. One University of Manitoba clinical psychologist is hoping to change that. She wanted to figure out a way to help patients' mental health both before and after an operation. CBC's Jim Agapito looks at how virtual reality is being used as an innovative way to help surgery patients.
First, we're going to apply the headset and make sure it's comfortable. My name is Dr. Renee Gabalawi. I'm an associate professor at the University of Manitoba. I'm cross-appointed in the departments of clinical health psychology and anesthesiology, perioperative and pain medicine. We had taken that original prototype that you had seen and we developed it further to allow for being wheeled into the OR. My clinical practice is focused on medical trauma and adverse health events, and I saw a lot of patients coming in that were really highly anxious, and I started doing a lot of research in the area, and some of my own research has shown a really strong relationship between anxiety before surgery and complications after surgery, increased rates of rehospitalization, length of stay, quality of life, things that really matter to both patients and the system as a whole. I played around with it a lot. Thank you. The idea was, can we develop a virtual reality program that uses scientifically supported methods and treatments to be able to better support patients? For me, it was really important, though, that all the ideas didn't come from me and the literature, that it also came from patients and people with lived experience. So this will be a tour of the actual hospital environments. So we ran a number of studies where we built an initial virtual reality prototype that exposed people to the operating room environment.
I'm going to ask you to lie down now. Just put your head on the pillow and relax into the bed.
Like, this just feels very relaxed when the doctors are speaking and just explaining things.
Michelle has been an incredible part of this research journey. She was actually originally a person in our large feasibility study that trialed our prototype prior to her mastectomy.
It's time for your oxygen mask. Can I get you to put your head back on the pillow and look straight up at the ceiling?
She gave us all this feedback. She filled out questionnaires. She gave us verbal feedback throughout that whole process, before surgery, after surgery. She trialed it about 1 week before her breast cancer surgery. And then we invited her back later on to participate in focus groups. So there are groups of people who participated in that initial study to kind of talk about what they like, dislike, how we think we can grow the virtual reality and make it better. I'm gonna just take it off, Michelle, if that's okay.
Sure.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That was really powerful. It felt very real. Like, having gone through surgery and seeing the operating room and meeting the doctors and seeing the equipment, this was very helpful because it was what I experienced in real life.
I did a lot of my training in the U.S. and I had some exposure there, and some. I actually was inspired through the military virtual reality in terms of deployment. That's where that was a real inspiration for me. Is that they're preparing military personnel for deployment using virtual reality, right? So why can't we do the same thing with this really stressful medical experience, surgery, which is very traumatic and anxiety-provoking for patients?
I'll let your medical team know that you're awake.
What we really see in our system is there is a great need for mental health support. And unfortunately, the resources are limited. That is no secret. And so we need to be thinking about innovative solutions. I think psychologists are in a really unique position because we function as clinician scientists. So we're trained as both researchers and clinicians to be able to develop this type of intervention to be able to support these patients. And I really have a lot of interest in sort of stepped care models. I see the value that, yes, you might need a psychologist for more severe issues, more complex issues, but if we can provide large support to a large number of people, then we can reserve our time and be able to really treat the people who need it the most.
The anxiety is high, like for anybody going through some medical procedures. And so if there's any way to just help yourself to like, breathe through it and realize that this is okay, we're gonna be okay. It's I don't know, I can't put it into words really, the feeling that's there. It's relief.
Still ahead, why this rock band broke out in patrioticness mid-concert last night. And Riley's back with the last check on our forecast. Stay with us. Every year around this time, hundreds of thousands of visitors show up at a beach in eastern India. It's the annual nesting for the endangered olive ridley sea turtles. This location is seeing a record number of them this year, with more than 700,000. Local authorities have fenced off the area for their protection. The olive ridley turtles are named after their heart-shaped olive green shells. Each female lays more than 100 eggs in a hole. They hatch in 50 days. Their global population remains threatened by humans over-harvesting them for meat and eggs.
So not quite beach weather here, but a good weekend to head out to the last weekend of Festival de Voyageur, wrapping up on Sunday and certainly looking a lot warmer than it was to start Festival last weekend. Chance of some scattered flurries, particularly through the later part of the day on Saturday. -2 in Winnipeg, winds fairly light. We'll see a bit of a windier day on Sunday with that chance of some rain or some snow, particularly later in the day. I mean, it's a pretty slim chance, but I think it's there, particularly as we get into the evening, into Monday morning. So we're up to +3 for Sunday and Monday. Clouds feature as we get through the next week. We'll high of 0 on Wednesday, cloudy with some sunny breaks. I mean, the same thing that we've seen today with some of that cloud cover ebbing and flowing in and out of southern Manitoba. And temperatures do start to dip by the time we get to the end of next week, with a good chance of snow by next Friday.
I mean, I'll take that dip, -3.
True. For diehard hockey fans, last night's win will probably be one of those moments to remember.
But for those who couldn't watch the game, it wasn't hard to tell who won, even if they were watching a concert. Here's your Daily Lift. Okay, how cool is this? Moments after Canada's stunning Four Nations win, Our Lady Peace stopped their concert in Edmonton to lead the crowd in singing O Canada.
And a fun fact, the band's lead singer, Rain Maida, is married to last night's Canadian Anthem singer, Chantal Kraviazik as well.
Love that.
Yeah.
So much pride right now, Canadians coast to coast to coast, and that was just the cherry on top last night.
I wonder how many people were paying attention to the concert or checking the score on their phones.
Probably a little bit of both. I was definitely checking the score last night from bed.
I hope you get outside this weekend.
Yes, have a wonderful weekend. We will see you back here Monday.